So the so what question would be, the answer to the so what question would be, yes, we can change ourselves and change the world that we live in.
Well, in studying both the ancient and then the wise tradition, one has the feeling that there is something there which we have missed, that we have somehow forgotten. You notice how in scientific meetings, for every opinion, there is a counter opinion. It doesn't matter in what field it is, if it is geology, anthropology, physics, whatever. I've been recently in a meeting with physicists, and it was just like kids fighting with each other. However, when you meet these ancient traditions, somehow they agree. They agree in the basics, you know. Pity I don't have here the quotes, you know. It's a friend of mine, Ede Frexa, a Hungarian neurobiologist and neuroscientist. He came up with these ideas, how you find in all the world religions the same basic idea. Look into yourself, you are the whole. Somehow, my feeling, using the metaphor of the left hemisphere and right hemisphere, somehow we have been carried out only by the left hemisphere and by the logic, but there is also the feeling and the emotion and things that we do not understand with the normal reasoning, but somehow we understand in a different way. Let's put it this way, with our hearts or right brain or whatever. So my feeling is that we cannot lose the feeling of mystery. I think that is very essential, and that's what I feel. You know, when I hear about the Mayas, one of these, there is something else there beyond mathematics, beyond the discovery of domestication of plants or animals. There is something else, and it seems like there is a dual source of knowledge. There is some, and I'm using now the words of this friend, but I will have to expose it to be able to that you understand it. It's like the neuroaxonal way of learning things, which is the normal way, and there is another way of learning things, which he called it the microtubular, which is using structures much smaller than the neurons, which are all over the microtubular. But I will have to explain how it's a slide. But somehow he's like trying to find the foundation of this other knowledge, which are also in ourselves. There is not a contradiction between these two worlds, but somehow, I think that we have to work parallelly with both of them. I don't know if I make any sense.
Yeah, I just want to make one comment, which I was about to make until I passed it on. And I think maybe it addresses at least what they're addressing, whether it was what you were asking or not. But I think in the modern day and age, and I come from a science background, a straight science background originally, at least at graduate level. There is, I don't want to call it a false dualism, but maybe artificial dualism between, you could call it science and religion, technology and sort of social, whatever you want to do. But there's this dualism, this artificial boundaries, I think, that is very much in our society, which when you look at these ancient societies, many of them, you don't have that same dualism. You essentially have an integrated, different worldview. And this is sometimes expressed in different ways in modern times. For instance, someone, Schwar de Lubitsch, who we didn't have a chance to talk about today, he would refer to it as sacred science. Sometimes people in the Vedic tradition, correct me if I'm wrong, will use the term holy science. Sometimes they refer to it as return to the source, trying to reunite that integration. The search for ancient wisdom is sometimes used in that sense. So I think this is an important lesson that the way society is today, the way we look at things today is not the only way to do it. In fact, it's maybe not the most successful way to do it. And in fact, frankly, some of the problems that we have in the world today at large may be because, of that number of people take a view or take a worldview, if I could say it that way, that frankly is not super successful in the long term, in the long run. So I think we do have something to learn.
I just add real quick, I pretty much agree with what's said, and might add that perhaps culture, modern culture, human culture now is starting to move towards a postmodern reintegration that will include modern science and reintegration with the best of the ancient wisdom traditions, which do all seem to agree in some sense about basic things. And my training is also at graduate level in the physical sciences, and my sense is this reintegration will add together again in a new way. So not necessarily a movement back to one of the ancient traditions, but in some new way that we don't really know yet. But this will be a new reintegration, perhaps, in a postmodern sense.
To put it bluntly, Carlo, we did talk a lot about this privately, but there is a different way of knowing. I think to deny our full capabilities, which we are, incidentally, in this modern world, is a mistake. The ancients used every ability of knowing the world. You know, we tend to look for our answers by examining things outside. I think a lot of knowledge is inside. You know, internal search, you know, a sort of looking inside ourselves. You know, we have a way of knowing things without necessarily proving them. And this, I think, is what was the approach, you know, of the ancients, is that they didn't often need the proof that something was there, you know. And we've established certain very rigid rules as to how to understand our world, which is wrong, I think. So changes should happen, and I think there is. I mean, one feels the buzz. I think all of us have been to many conferences throughout the last few years, and we feel this buzz, which your question encapsulates, in a sense. You know,